All right. All right. Cool. Suns 8-5. They lose the last game of a 4-game road trip by 1 point to the Miami Heat by a final score of 113-112. All right, Matthew. All right.
All right, dude.
All
Physical
right.
game. Who do you got? Physical game towards the end. Who do you got? Suns or the other team?
Uh, the team that gets to the free throw line.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
How about
That.
that?
Yeah. Yeah.
How about that whole thing? Fun fact for you. You ready for this? Coming out hot. Fun fact. Do you know the last time in the NBA when a team had 4 or less free throw attempts was?
Was it 1957?
Nope. It was May 16th, 2021, and it was the Phoenix Suns. So,
Nice.
we're used to this shit, right? We don't get to the line. We don't get calls.
No, we don't. I mean, it goes both ways, but tonight was a little ridiculous. I mean, I'll probably be on the side of, the Suns kind of got screwed a little bit, but honestly, dude, that's why I said in the beginning, physical game. Who do you got? The other team went to Miami Heat or the Suns, who are never
Oh,
physical enough to ever get the job done towards the end,
yeah.
right?
No, I hear you. I guess they're too finesse. And I got to congratulate the Miami Heat on this one. I mean, a team that can play that effective and not foul for an entire game, it's magical. It's got to be a great
Yeah.
feeling. Imagine being a Heat fan right now and you're sitting there and you're like, you know what? Our team is so good that we don't foul. We don't foul. I think they had 10 personal fouls the entire game? 10. Suns had 22. There's yeah, we just don't do that. We play perfect basketball. We don't touch the opposition ever. We never push them off their spot. We never and put ourselves in an opportunity where we could be whistled for a foul. So we just
Yeah.
play
Yeah.
perfect basketball, and that's just the way it is.
It is, but Suns were missing one guy that used to come in and get us to the bonus quickly, and that's Chris Paul.
Yeah,
So
he
that
knows how to
helps.
play the game.
Yeah, he was the one guy that would do that for us. We don't really have guys that get to the line, man. I don't know what to say. I know this is bad, but
No, we
we don't
don't.
get to the
And
line. We don't.
I was looking at this as well, and entering tonight, the Phoenix Suns were the second, had attempted the second least amount of free throws in the league behind Oklahoma City, and they had 4
Okay.
more than Oklahoma City. And I guarantee you, OKC probably shot more than 8 free throws tonight, and the Phoenix Suns are now dead last in the league in free throw shooting. And again, it goes to show you now. Of course, we can be frustrated with the refs, but Matthew, I mean, you hit it spot on. Phoenix doesn't put themselves in a position to get to the line often enough. They don't attack with a regularity, and when they do, I mean, Deandre Ayton's a great example of this. Mikal Bridges is a great example of this. Both of them, when they do attack the rim, they try to go around people rather than through them. When you look at the Heat, I mean, they do the exact opposite. Bam Adebayo was running through people in the fourth quarter to the point where I'm like, are you kidding me? This guy he's getting every call because he's simply just running through Mikal Bridges, running through DeAndre Ayton, and they're like, oh, what's got to be a foul on the other guy? Because Bam Adebayo's perfect, man. I mean, this guy can't commit a foul.
Yeah, it's automatic for refs. They blow the whistle before they have to, really, a lot of the times. And you even saw tonight a few times where the ref would call it on one side and then the other ref on the other side be like, no, actually, I saw the play
Yeah.
and it was wrong. So we get that all the time.
Mhm.
They're ready to blow the whistle. They react to these certain situations that are just so ingrained in their mind. They're like, this is gonna be a foul. Oh, foul. No one touched them. You know what I mean? Even the
Yeah.
Booker, the one that Booker had to have reviewed. And
Yeah.
Booker's been doing a good job. I guess he's 3-0 on the road trip or something, but
Yeah,
he
great.
didn't touch anybody.
The team's 1-3.
Yeah, exactly. That's the one thing we got, man, on the reviews. But I don't know. All right, let's do this.
All right, here we go. So
What's going
8-5 for
on?
the Phoenix Suns, 1-3 on the road trip. It's time for some home cooking. It's time to bring the team home. But before then, we're gonna have a nice little podcast. Welcome, Suns fans, to another edition of the Suns Jam Session podcast, the best post-game podcast on Planet Orange, where we sit around and we just bitch about how shitty this team is. That's what it's becoming again. 8-5.
It's what you wanted. It's what
hey,
you. It's
not what I wanted.
wanted.
It's what I predicted before the season began. I'm
Yeah,
like, dude, we're going to have a lot of
That
peaks
is
and valleys
different.
this season, and that's just kind of the way it goes. So, again, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you go ahead and give us a thumbs up, give us a subscribe. We really appreciate it. If you're listening to the podcast, leave a 5-star review. Leave all the lyrics to Smash Mouth. Hell, one of you have already done that. Feel free to do it again. And if you are just hanging out, and you don't want to do any of those things, I don't blame you. But I think it's time that we pop open a teeth cracking cold brew before we talk about this game. So, Matthew, what are you drinking?
I got a I couldn't think of anything funny, but you can do it. I got water.
Oh, okay. You got some of that high quality H2O.
Yeah.
I have this distressed wood golden ale. Delicious. Do you know the way cardboard smells, Matthew?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's how this
I do.
tastes. Okay, so let's pop it open if you guys are Suns fans. We'll probably need one after this one. And let's go ahead and talk about this loss to the Miami Heat. Suns lose after Devin Booker takes a buzzer beater shot in an attempt to win the game. They lose 113 to 112. The Heat outscore the Phoenix Suns 29-21 in the final quarter after the Suns had outscored them 34-26 and had been leading at some points in this game upwards of 13. A collapse at the end of the game, which brings me to my first question.
Matthew, I got to ask.
Matthew, I got to ask, who has the better logo, the Heat or the Suns? Because they're both like fireballs.
It's the only one I could draw when I was younger. Both of those. That's it. Just over and over. Just over and over. It was the Heat and the Suns. I like both of them. Honestly, I think they're kind of underrated a little bit, right? They're simple, but they're just beautiful. Both of them.
There's beauty and simplicity. And I think that, because, you're watching this game and you see it's the 35th anniversary of the Heat and they've got the Heat logo with the 35 on the court. And then you look at ours, obviously we see it all the time. And I agree with you. Both very underrated logos. I'll tell you what wasn't underrated tonight was the way that the Heat played defense in that fourth quarter. We can sit there, we can bitch and moan about the referees, but the Heat really stepped it up defensively in that fourth quarter. I mean, they got physical. They were everything that the Suns did right in the third quarter went wrong for the Suns in the fourth quarter. And it brings a lot of different questions that I see a lot of the Jamsters are asking along live in the chat. They're asking, well, why didn't Monty recognize the hot hands? You got free minds right here. Monty's got to recognize the hot hands. Got to give Lee and Washington. Got to leave Lee and Washington into the game. And a lot of people are saying that. Do you think that's true? Do you sit Devin Booker and Cameron Payne because Lee and Washington had good games?
You know what though, the thing with Washington, like he was on fire in the second. I know he scored 13 out of the 16 points in the second, which was awesome. And usually with those players, they kind of just fall off in a way. They're not going to really continue that, but he kind of did. Like he was still in there shooting his shot. Lee hit some big shots tonight. The only thing is, you can't rely on them to win the game for you because they're just not that guy. I mean, I know Lee hit a big shot earlier in the season, the first game of the season to win a game, but you gotta have Book in there. You kind of always got to go back to your starters in a way. The hot hand can only last for so long because they get tired. They're not used to playing those long minutes. So, I mean, there's a lot of standard for Monty and stuff in this game, but I don't know, because you can kind of see like how towards the end of the game where you had two shots, critical shots that Juice was throwing up there. Yeah. And it's Torrey Craig. And it's just like, well, should that even be Torrey's shot? Of course not. You know what I mean? But who knows what play was really ran there? Like Aaron Rodgers talked about how he gets shit for interceptions, but you got to know the whole play. You got to know where receiver's supposed to be and all that stuff. Same thing goes here. If someone didn't do the right thing, I mean, Craig can't just sit there and be like, oh, why are you not fucking rolling over like so that you're open? I can hit you with the pass or something. You know what I mean? So he has to throw up these shots. They weren't terrible shots. It's just like it's the wrong guy taking them. You want Book to have it, or even Ayton, or even Mikal in that situation.
Yeah, but again, that you have to credit the Miami defense because they forced those situations. I mean, you saw it early in this game in which the Miami Heat were focused on trying to get the ball out of Devin Booker's hands, as well they should. They were blitzing him early at half court. And the Phoenix Suns didn't take advantage of it. I think that's when you go back and you look at this game, everyone's going to point right to the referees, right? Everyone's going to point to the fact that it was kind of a shitty possession at the end of the game. How about the 15 missed layups in this game? Because there was a lot of plays in which they would blitz Devin Booker. He expertly passed out of it. Mikal Bridges would have it at the top of the key, And he'd start driving, and then like DA would sit there and kind of look at him. Instead of either one of them making up their decisions, they just kind of throw up a shitty layup. And I mean, time and time again, you saw very poor performances around the rim in this game. It'll be interesting to take a look at the shot chart and see what the Phoenix Suns actually shot around the rim. But there were numerous opportunities for them to really expand this lead, and they just didn't have the ability to do so because they were missing the easy shots. Kudos to Dwayne Washington. Kudos to Damian Lee, because they were hitting some of the hard shots.
I'm not the one who just got butt fucked on national TV, Dwayne.
Washington.
Dwayne Washington came out of nowhere in this game. You look at his final stat line. He played 19 minutes. He had 21 points. He was 8 of 14 from the field. He was 5 of 8 from beyond the arc. He had 4 assists, only 1 turnover. And then Damian Lee added 14 points on 5 of 9 shooting, including 4 of 7 from beyond the arc. They were combined 9 of 16 from beyond the arc in this game. The Suns aren't in this game if they don't get the performances from those two. And I understand the frustration that a lot of the Jamsters have and be like, well, just ride them to the end. But to your point, Matthew, like these aren't ride it to the end kind of guys. If the Miami Heat did what they did to the starters in the last 5 minutes, imagine what it would have been like with Damian Lee and Dwayne Washington out there.
Yeah, because they're gonna have to try to run an offense that they don't know. Like they're not supposed to do that in the last 5 minutes of a game. They don't know really what the game plan would be. Then it would just have to be something on the fly. You don't want to see that. That just look way worse. We would have lost a big game by like 10 points maybe. But I think the thing is with Washington Jr., he did stay hot though, and that's the thing is like usually these guys, like I said earlier, they kind of flame out, but he didn't. He continued to play, and he continued to rotate on offense and try to find windows for the for either DA or whoever had the ball inside in the paint to really get open, and he continued to do that. Same thing with Lee. He gave options. He gave the Suns an opportunity to really kind of just blow this team out in a way, and he did the best he could. It just came down to the defense in the end where the Heat they knew what was coming. They knew it was going to be either Booker having the ball, and the debate is always Booker, Donovan Mitchell. These guys are always kind of in the same kind of realm, and I think what you see is with Booker and Butler, they're in the same realm, I think, as players, as all-stars, as superstars in a way. It's like, who do you take in these games? A lot of people always take Butler. I'm like, wait, what? How do you take Butler in a big playoff game or a big game like this? And I'm not saying this is going to happen all the time because Booker could have made that 3. Booker makes these fucking awesome shots. He did a good job, but it was like half and half. It's like Butler got his against Booker, and that was really the difference because Butler held his own about 50% of the time defensively to stop Booker towards the end to get a good shot. And then Booker had that and one. So it was a thing where it comes down to defense and if you can stop their best player, and Booker's our best player. And I think Butler just did that, man.
Well, it was Bam who they couldn't stop because Butler in this game, 5 of 12 from the field, had 16 points, had 13 total rebounds. That's where they really had a challenge with him. And I see, what some of the Jamsters are saying. And I agree. Low Suns says Lee should have been there rather than Payne. And that I do agree with. Payne, don't get me wrong. Like he did hit I think he might have hit the last 2 points for the Phoenix Suns, but he was 4 of 17 in this game. He was 1 of 6 from beyond the arc. He had 9 points. He had 5 assists and 1 turnover. Whereas Damian Lee, if Damian Lee's coming in, we saw this when the Suns played against the Golden State Warriors. When Damian Lee comes in, we go into more of a point book type of game plan. And that's okay because again, Damian Lee brings a level of physicality to him that Cameron Payne just can't. And, if you want us to talk about riding the hot hand, yeah, Dwayne Washington, I tip my cap to you. You might even get a jam star this game. But you're not the guy who needs to be in the game in the final minutes. Damian Lee probably should have in this game. Then, of course, you take a look at Deandre Ayton in this game. I clicked it. Is it playing?
No, it played for like a second.
Did it? This is one of those games where you can't hang this one on DA. At least I can't, because we had like third quarter DA, right? Like there was a timeout called, and Deandre Ayton at that point had, I think, 8 points. through the first 2.5 quarters. And then he just went into kind of like beast mode. And in the third quarter, all of a sudden you start to get this aggressive DA. He goes 4-4 from the field. He has 8 points and has 5 rebounds, right? And you're just like, oh shit, here we go. And then, the Suns padded that lead to about 13. And then the fourth quarter comes. DA has 0 points. He has 1 shot attempt in the fourth quarter. 1. And then he grabs a total of 2 rebounds. Conversely, Bam Adebayo has 14 points, 4 or 5 from the field, 6 of 6 from the line, 2 total rebounds. So my thing here is I'm more frustrated with Monty Williams not keeping DA engaged in the fourth quarter rather than DA just getting pwned by Adebayo for the reasons I said earlier. Like Adebayo put forth an effort and was bouncing off of players left and right to where 14 of those or 6 of those 14 points were from the line, and they weren't all fouls on DA, but there were some box outs that DA missed. But tell me what you saw, because I'm confused.
Well, surprise. I don't know what relationship's worse, this one with DA and us Suns fans, or Sam and Ronnie from Jersey Shore. Like, I don't know what's more painful to watch, because that's a bad relationship. But this is like, we're walking a fine line here, right, John? Just talking about DA. It's because I don't want to look at the comments. I don't want to be like, all right, this isn't DA's fault. It's not his fault at all. I mean, he had a really good third quarter. I liked him. They came out of some timeout. I think it was maybe 6 minutes left in the third. And DA was just positioned perfectly underneath the basket. He was right there helping his teammates put the ball. Like Washington Jr. went up for a
offensive
layup.
boards.
Yeah. Washington Jr. went up for a layup, but he just threw it off the backboard because DA was in that mode where he was positioning himself perfectly, putting the ball back in. There's no calls, of course, for him to get to the free throw line because he's not physical. So I'm not going to even talk about that. Like that's Bam's game. Bam's very, very physical. This team's very physical. So DA's not in that way. And when it came to the last few minutes of the game, like DA, I don't know where he was. So that I can't really say like, oh, I was watching him the whole time. Like, was he being boxed out? But he wasn't there. He wasn't there to help on the offensive glass like he was before, the defensive rebounds like he was before. I think he gets thrown out of the way. And this happened last year. This happened the year before, where he has big quarters and it doesn't come in to finish. Is it him? Is it Monty? I don't know. But if I'm DA, I'm just gonna fucking continue. I'm gonna continue to get involved, to be involved, like Juices. He's just always in there fucking fighting for something.
Juice,
you know what I mean?
He was fighting tonight. That's
He
a good
really
call.
was.
Torrey Craig was everywhere tonight.
He was, and he put himself in a position to get the ball. And I didn't see that from Ayton. And I'm not saying it's Ayton himself, but wherever the ball was coming off the glass, coming off the rim, I just know that Bam was there. Bam was there to do his shit. He was 30-10 tonight. DA was 16-12, but I don't even care. Like, if the Suns were to win this game in a blowout and it just ended in the fourth, like in a blowout fashion, I think it was a good game from DA. It was, but there just wasn't anything there to finish the game. And that's the thing that just is like, I don't know where he goes or what happens. And we can't continue to keep doing this because he's the only player we do this with. Is it Monty not throwing plays out there for him, or is it just DA not wanting to get involved? So, here we are again. That's just what happened tonight, I feel like.
Well, you're right. And, at the same time, I feel like, it's not the end of the world. Like, the Suns are 8-5. I knew coming into this season, this is going to be an up and down season. You take into account that there's some injuries to this team. We're missing 2/5 of our starting lineup. Jay Crowder's nowhere to be seen. So you have a $10 million asset that's not even playing. And then you're losing close games like this against a team that has their injuries too. And it's just, the challenge that I run into as a fan is just trying not to get so emotionally attached to every win and to every loss, right? Because Deandre Ayton gets you emotionally attached because you see, that flash in the third quarter, you're just like, fuck, here we go.
And
like,
it wasn't
give me
even
this guy.
But it wasn't even like, oh, fucking fierce DA. He was just in position.
Yeah.
But his teammates were finding him because, he gave them angles, give them the ball. Like, he was making himself known. That's the thing.
That's all I want. I don't want him fading away on offense, where the ball's on the strong side of the court. He's on the weak side. And he just kind of, he'll take like 3 steps backwards towards the free 3-point line. So he's in the mid range. So it's like if somebody was to throw up a jump shot, he's not in position in any way, shape, or form to rebound it. And it's things like that that can become unbelievably frustrating as you watch this team day in, day out, game in and game out. And then you see losses like this, and then you try to put together, okay, how could we have pulled this one out? Had Devin Booker made that shot, yes, we would have been, wow, we pulled that. Whoo, that was a close one. But I think we'd still have those situations where we're like, okay, but we were doing it the other night. Who did they blow out? The fucking Timberwolves. And you and I were sitting here for 20 minutes talking about how DA just didn't give the effort. And they almost gave that one away because in the fourth quarter, DA's just kind of jogging up and down the court. He doesn't come out with that intensity. Josh 77 in the chat says Ayton never plays a full game. He plays a quarter, a half, and then disappears the rest of the game. Part of that's by his attitude, and I feel like part of that's because there's just not enough focus. And it's one of those things that Monty Williams referenced on Media Day coming into this season. Hey, we got some things in store for DA. This is a guy who's going to be more engaged. We're going to see his total number of field goal attempts increase because it's there. Chris Paul's not around anymore. Now Cameron Johnson's not there, / Jay Crowder. So those 9 shot attempts are gone. Chris Paul's not there for his 10 to 14. So it's like half of those go to DA, and we could see some massive production. He was 8 for 10 from the field. He shot 80%, but he only shot the ball 10 times. And again, it's like, is it because he's having to spend so much time defensively, play against the likes of Rudy Gobert and play against the likes of Bam Adebayo? But you would hope a guy who's making $30 million a year would, have the ability to impose his will. And he just, and I know it, and we'll say it again. We'll say it again. We'll fucking say it again. It's like, it's just not who he is. We have to accept that. I want to accept it, but I still am pissed because it's not what it should be. It's not what it should be.
No, and the thing is with Bam, when I was watching him, I'm like, oh, dude, I can see how he can be a frustrating player too sometimes. But then when it came down to the fourth, he was just in there like causing ruckus and just doing his thing. Like he just didn't give a fuck. He's just like, no one's going to win this game. Jimmy can't get it going really. Like someone has to do something. And that's the thing is like when it's only Booker out there and you pull Lee and Lee's not in the game, I guess, if you want to rely on that guy, I mean, it's fine, but you want to have to rely on DA in certain situations like this. That's just what he's paid for, man. Sorry.
But here's the other guy who's paid for this, and that's Mikal Bridges, and he's a fucking fat 0 too. Okay, so 15 points for him tonight, 7 of 14 from the field. He had 5 total rebounds, 2 assists. You take a look at how he performed in the fourth quarter, 0 points, 0 for 1. Him and both. Here's how the scoring happened for the Phoenix Suns in the fourth quarter. Okay, they had 21 total points, 10 from Devin Booker, 4 from Torrey Craig, 2 from Cameron Payne, who was 1 of 7 in the fourth quarter, and then you got 5 from Damian Lee as he played half of the quarter. Right? Mm-hmm. Mikal Bridges and Deandre Ayton, who currently, without Chris Paul, are your secondary and tertiary scoring options on this offense. 0 points. Fucking 0. And you can say whatever you want. It's a free country. But I don't agree with if you say, well, they had to spend so much time defensively. Kale's trying to lock up Jimmy Butler as best he can. DeAndre Ayton's still trying to stop Bam Adebayo. Well, okay. In that fourth quarter, Bam Adebayo, 14 points. Jimmy Butler, 2 points, a couple rebounds, but his plus minus was 14. Again, we talked about it not too long ago. Give us a string of Mikal Bridges games. I want a string of them. I don't want that come out 31-point performance or whatever it was against the Timberwolves, and now he's laid 2 consecutive eggs. 15 points, that should be the floor for Mikal Bridges, correct?
Yeah, and he also had that play going across the middle that kind of sealed the deal for Miami where he just lost the ball going up. It looked like a foul, but he just lost the ball. And the thing is, like, him in these situations when there's so much pressure and the defense is so tight on him, I think it's very difficult for him to do what he wants offensively because a lot of stuff he throws up there, it's not terribly guarded. He does have that fadeaway where someone's on him, he can get over some guy, but in situations like this where he just wants to get a bucket, it's really hard for him. We want to rely on this guy a lot offensively, and he has his spurts, and maybe he's just one of those guys when the Suns are winning, like then he can get you those points and it looks good offensively. But I don't know how much to rely on him though, dude. Towards the end of games, he can hit the corner 3 or something, but he just is never that guy to go get you a bucket when you need it. Just a little 2-point shot
Agreed.
every
But
now and then.
but should he be?
I don't know.
And do the
We
Suns need
want him to be.
the Suns need that, right?
Yeah,
Like,
and
that's the issue. We don't have a secondary scorer who you can rely on. Go around the league. All right, look at the Miami Heat. They got 2 scorers you can rely on, right? You got Bam Adebayo and you got Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, kind of. But Tyler Hero's supposed to be that guy too. But
yeah, but he's a bench
really
guy.
Working out.
He's a bench guy, and he's
well, he's a starter now. But I'm just saying, like, he's supposed to be that guy.
Yeah, he's your third option. You know, like Mikal Bridges. I guess, okay, to your point, yeah, Mikal Bridges is supposed to be that third option. DA should be that second option. We're not getting anything out of any of these guys. All it is Devin Booker breaking his back and him praying that Damian Lee or Dwayne Washington is going to help contribute offensively to this team. And, you know, this is the challenge that we're going to have for quite some time. We mentioned on the last podcast, which was a kerfuffle, to say the least. You know, until December 15th hits, this is going to be par for the course for the Phoenix Suns, with injuries amounting and knowing that the Suns and James Jones most likely won't make any moves until December 15th, which is the date in which the majority of the league becomes available via trade. Anybody who was traded for this past offseason, they have until December 15th. That's when it's been like 90 days with the team or whatever, and then they're eligible for trade, knowing that we have assets that are tradable. You have Jay Crowder, you have Cameron Johnson, you have Dario Saric, you have these different guys who you can trade and try to get somebody that can add some offensive firepower consistently to this team, because Dwayne Washington isn't going to do what he did tonight every night. Dwayne Washington isn't going to show up, come off the bench every night, and then go ahead and give you a total of 21 points. It just isn't going to happen. You need to have a solid secondary scoring option behind Devin Booker, because DA ain't it. DA is going to get you 16 every night. And you know what? 16 every night is good for a tertiary option. But you need somebody who's going to – I mean, take a look at who was I looking at the other day who's playing so well, and they got 2 guys who are scoring 20-something points each. I forget. But every good team in the league, that's what it is. They got a guy – they got 2 guys who get you 20 any night.
Yeah, and really quick, Mario Lopez says Kale and DA took 2 shots in the fourth. How is this not on Monty?
It's on Monty. I agree it's on Monty.
It is, but like how? I mean, he's been our coach for 3 years now?
4.
This is his 4th year.
Mm-hmm.
So we obviously were sitting here. We don't know who the second guy is to go to. I think Cameron Johnson was probably going to be one of those guys. Chris Paul is maybe one of those guys. We have a bunch of maybes. Who knows? It's always Booker and then whoever else can step up. But how long until, like, is it just on Monty to tell a player just to go get it? Go get the fucking ball, make a play, do something, right? We're seeing the same shit from these 2 from same as last year with Mikal and DA. I just don't think Kale can get shots on his own. He's an ISO player unless he tries to get to the rim and draw a foul, but he can't do that either. And then DA, it's like, can you get to the free throw line? No, you can't. Also, can you just get us a bucket? I don't think he can. So he can't do it either. So I don't think those 2 are just legit dudes. They'll have the big nights where, oh, see, this is it. He's the guy you need to go to. It's just never there. This is the 3rd year where we're looking at these dudes to help out constantly or consistently, and it's just not going to be a thing because Monty's been I think Monty fucking knows by now. I'm not getting mad at Mario Lopez. I'm just saying I think Monty knows what to do. I just don't think these guys can perform to what he wants.
But therein lies the challenge as a coach, right? A good coach sees the talent and makes the in-game adjustments necessary to be successful. And I feel like those in-game adjustments just aren't happening because, like, what you're asking for is like, hey, DA, go get to the line. Easier said than done. You know, Mikal Bridges, make sure you go get that offensive rebound. Easier said than done. But if you're running specific sets and you go, hey, listen, our 4th quarter focus is we're going to get the ball down to DA on the block. From there, we need DA to execute, right? If we're just seeing touches from DA, okay, then I feel like there's an in-game adjustments where they're trying to take advantage of certain things. But you just don't see that. I know Mikal's tough because he's not truly a shot creator. I think he's done a good job thus far this season trying to become a shot creator. But at the end of the day, he's not a shot creator. But do you know what he's great at and we never see anymore? Like back cuts. Mikal Bridges is the king of the back cut. And for some reason, they don't run like a high screen, get the ball to DA about 18 feet out. And then once they get the ball to DA, you got Mikal doing a back cut. He just bounce passes it to her and lobs him for a dunk. Like, we've seen these kind of things. But what happens in that fourth quarter when it starts to get tight, it starts to go in that Booker ball mentality where it's just like Booker's usage rate starts to go through the roof. And, what's made the Suns successful in the past is they had both Chris Paul and Devin Booker. Defenses didn't know what to do. Well, now they have nobody. So they're sitting around on a possession for 18 seconds before they start to try to execute any semblance of an offense. And once they do, it's too late to try to get Deandre Ayton or Mikal Bridges involved. That's where Monty Williams comes in. That's where Monty Williams goes, listen, guys, stay 0.5. Okay, we're going to start to run this offense. I know that game's tight, and it's a 2-point game and there's 3 minutes left. Keep in the flow of the offense. Let's do some screen and pops. Let's do some Spain pick and rolls. Let's do something. Let's do some back cuts. Let's do something to get the ball out of Booker's hands. And ultimately, if you start to run some of these things, the defense has to adjust to him. Devin Booker's going to find himself wide open for a 3, but that's not going to happen when he's sitting there staring at the shot clock for 18 seconds.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything. And if right here, Dark Phoenix actually says James Jones be sleeps too, so Monty don't guys. Sorry, I can't really read this. Don't got the right guys to coach the job to get the job done. So basically, James Jones is asleep. Monty doesn't have the right guys on the court. I agree with one part of that where I don't think DA is really a Monty guy. I just don't think he has. I don't think he has been in a while. They're trying to figure their way out of it. I'm not trying to hate on DA. I'm just saying I think that's what it is. I think he just sticks out as a sore thumb still. Offensively, defensively, he can be okay, but offensively, I don't think he's like really a Monty guy. So I think it's really hard maybe for him to kind of get this done. You saw how it ended last year with him and DA. Like, that wasn't just some kind of fluke thing. It's something that was built up for forever. And I just think now looking at DA out there, it's just like, okay, it's the same guy from last year. So we're going to deal with the 16 and 12. And if it continues, that's fine. That's just who he is, and we'll accept it. Because I was going to say it was a good game tonight, but then towards the end of the game, when you just need something from him or somebody else, it just doesn't come through. So I don't think he is that Monty guy. I think that's really something to get on there.
Yeah, I think, I agree. And then I also agree with the fact that, some people were saying in the chat, well, like Devin Booker and that crazy shot at the end, you know what? And Andrew Jang, $5 in the super chat. Thank you. We really appreciate that. Thank you for supporting the Suns Jam session. We really appreciate it. Andrew says, I agree with Booker taking the last shot. He's done it multiple times in his career. If it was 2007 or something, I think that goes in for the buzzer beater. Regardless of what happens, like, Booker has to take that shot. I'm not opposed to Devin Booker taking that last possession. What I'd like to see from the Phoenix Suns is throw something that the defense can't predict. What made the Heat tough in this game at the end was, one, their defensive intensity was awakened, right? It was like Schmaug. I'm watching The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings again. The Desolation of Schmaug.
You watching the TV show?
No, I haven't. No? But I'm watching I'm watching the movies, and then I'll start to watch the TV show.
Cool.
But like, their defense was awakened like that of Schmaug, and at the same time, they were unpredictable on offense because of the way that they can move the ball inside and out. It started with Bam Adebayo on the inside. He'd kick it out. They could hit a 3 or not. Kyle Lowry's jumping around like a jackass like he always does. But at the end of the day, they weren't as predictable as the Phoenix Suns have become. And therein lies the challenge with the Phoenix Suns. And it's going to be something that we're going to see, until Chris Paul kind of gets back, until James Jones really makes any sort of move to this roster. I really feel like, the book on the Suns is out. And when if it's a close game and it's the end, you can't rely on getting the ball down to DA, because guess what? They're not going to get the ball down to DA. It's just not the game they play. They don't play through him. They play right through Bam Adebayo the entire time. They don't play through DA at all. And it's just unbelievably frustrating.
No, I mean, they can't get the ball to DA now. It's both sides. The fact that, a lot of these big men in the NBA can grab the ball anywhere they want. Figure it the fuck out. Where do you want the ball? Okay, go. How do you not know? Like, not him, or I'm not blaming one side, but how do you not know still as a team? Like, these entry passes to him, the one from Cameron Payne where he's just like gently like gliding it on the floor to him that almost got picked off.
It's like bowling it to him.
Yeah, how do we not know what we're trying to do here? Like, get the fucking ball or something. Suns are too stubby towards the end. They're too stubby of a team. Even with Chris Paul, they're just too small. These teams that have length and defense, it's hard for these guys to get shots or do anything offensively.
This ain't last year's team, I'll tell you that. This ain't last year's team. But again, this is the journey throughout the regular season. And this is what's going to occur is, again, this isn't the end of the world. This is an observation on our post-game podcast following the Heat game of some frustrations that we see with the Phoenix Suns. If they come out on Wednesday night wearing the turquoise uniforms and they beat the Golden State Warriors, of course, we're going to be happy. We're going to talk about all the things that they did right, but we'll still call them out for the things that they do wrong. And I feel like that's kind of one of the challenges that this team has right now is there's a lot of things that need some buttoning up. And we didn't see that last season. It was almost an aberration, especially being a Suns fan as long as we have been, to see a team that executed so flawlessly throughout the regular season and throughout clutch time, to see the way that they played last season. What they're doing this season is something that is, what teams call normal. You know what I mean? Like this is the way that normal teams play throughout the regular season. There's going to be some wins. There's going to be some losses,
True. True.
What's so funny?
It is funny because when I read the comments, it's like someone makes a good point about, DA actually doing a good job, in certain parts, and someone's like trashing him a little bit. I'm like, oh, I agree with that too. It's just always so fucking back and forth. I cannot decide who I am anymore.
I don't know who I am. I don't know what I am. I don't know where I am. But you know what? I do know where I was hanging out tonight, Matthew. The Suns Jam Session subreddit stakeout. So there I was, hanging out on the Heat subreddit. An interesting place to be tonight. It's my stop. So the first thing that I noticed, somebody put, it's no longer FTX Arena logo still on the court. I don't know if you've heard that whole thing about FTX, but no. They've tanked horribly. Oh, it's crashed horribly. What was something like Tom Brady and Giselle are going to lose like $75 million because they invested in FTX, and the whole company is just plummeting.
Was that the Larry David commercial, the halftime show? Oh, I'm sorry.
Probably.
Super Bowl?
Probably.
He has some kind of commercial, so. Yeah. No, I heard people couldn't even get their money out or something.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's going down. Also on the subreddit for the Miami Heat, Booker has the most aesthetically pleasing jumper in the league, in my opinion. Bro's skill and talent is just so high. Crazy we have a future better version of him on the roster. So it's like
Tyler Hero?
Yeah, they think Tyler Hero is like just the next Devin Booker.
Yeah. I was always not a supporter, but I always was like, he's on his way. He reminded me of Devin Booker. Like
the issue I have with Hero is the reason why he's not the next Devin Booker is because Devin Booker is a humble motherfucker, man. Tyler Hero exactly is not. Thinking.
No, not yet.
No. He's like posting pictures with him with his shirt off and making like 33s in a row. Like when Devin Booker was getting videos of him making 33s in a row, it's because Javon Carter was taking the footage. Okay, respect. Exactly. And then came the Dwayne Washington onslaught.
I'm not the one who just got butt fucked on national TV, Dwayne
Washington. I just love that drop. One person goes, bro, who is this dude? The next guy says, Washington is an RSHK. And then the next guy said, wake up, babe. New RSHK just dropped. And I was like, what the hell is RSKJ? What does this mean? And then I started to do a little research. It means random scrub heat killer. So the Heat fan base has something that's kind of similar to our Jack Taylor Award.
The Jack Taylor Award for the guy who comes out of nowhere and scores a shit ton of points on you.
So, like, Dwayne Washington was a Jack Taylor Award nominee tonight. And then, of course, you had from the Miami Heat, you had, what's the guy? What's his name? Caleb Martin. Caleb Martin, 5 of 6 from beyond the arc. 15 points. And, so he was a winner of the Jack Taylor Award as well tonight. A lot of Jack Taylor Awards out there in South Beach, man.
Yeah, I'm glad we can actually, pay it forward with one of ours. We're going to get that a lot with this dude.
It was just
I think
like,
every time he throws it up, you think it's going in. That's pretty cool. It's weird to hear from other fan bases that they care about basketball too. I don't know. It just sounds weird to me. You know what I mean? Like we put so much into like how we, go into the post game pods, like your drops and all that stuff, and like the Jack Taylor Award. But then you realize like other teams have their own shit. It's like, oh yeah, you forget about that.
That
I
was
forget
kind
about it all
of
the time.
the fun part about being on the subreddit. And then somebody said Eddie Johnson hates the Heat for whatever reason, but his GM is Heat culture. What the fuck? And then somebody said Eddie blocked me on Twitter after that Game 7 blowout. And then somebody said dude's got problems. Hey guys, you leave Eddie Johnson. That's Matthew Step-Pap.
Yeah, but his he is kind of weird on Twitter.
He's aggressive on Twitter.
He is, and he hates on a lot of people. I don't know how good that is for people, but whatever, man. I mean, he's a shit talker nonstop, right? So, as soon as he's sitting down taking a shit, I'm sure it just continues.
It's flowing out of his fingers and his butt. You have Suns are so much better than us, missing 2 starters. And then the run happened, and that was
yeah.
They said,
dude, it looked like a Suns win.
It did. And then Devin Booker started the 4th quarter, and they go, damn, Booker's still in there. That's a coach that doesn't want to lose. And then they said they don't miss corner threes or mid-range shots in Arizona. And lastly, Lowry has to stop with the flopping, man. And all this happened before they put a run on us and beat us. I stopped looking after a while. But that, ladies and gentlemen, was your subreddit stakeout. The Suns Jam Session subreddit stakeout. One of the quieter subreddits, I will say that. You go into these different subreddits at the end during games, and sometimes there's a lot of conversation happening. The Heat, not a lot, not a whole bunch.
Yeah, they're fans too. They don't usually show up till the 4th. Like, I didn't hear them at all till like 6 minutes.
I didn't see them.
No, they're just, I don't know what I mean, how long does it take their boats to get to the arena? Is there a lot of traffic on the water?
I guess, yeah. It's like Miami Vice style. You have to go through the canals. It's like, run with the yayo.
No, yayo.
Yeah, that's a great
my favorite. That was my favorite song to do hits with. You get in the car, and it just comes on. You just start running people over.
And I run so far away. In the Banshee.
Yeah.
The Banshee was a nice car.
Jam Star of the Game.
All right, Jamsters, here's a reminder. If you're watching along live, please hit that thumbs up button while you're hanging out with us on YouTube. If you're listening a little bit later, go ahead and give us a 5-star review and let us. Everybody can let us know who is your Jam Star of the Game. Matthew, I think it's your turn to go first, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Let's go Washington Jr. Let's do that. I wanted to give it to Ayton. I thought it was a good game. Just, a finish, but I don't want to get back into that stuff again. I think definitely Washington Jr. I think Lee was huge. Like, he was really fucking huge. But what Washington Jr. did with 16 points in the first half, that was insane.
How about him getting rid of the hair, man? Like, he when he was first.
Oh yeah, when he came out, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, who's the new guy?
Yeah.
He doesn't have the Ricky Rubio. He didn't have the dreads. I was just like, oh, hey, clean shaven Washington. Okay, I'm with
There's
that.
There's some players that do that and they actually improve. I mean, who was the last one that did that? I'll remember by next pod. A lot of these players, Alfred Payton, but like they shave off their head, or like not the whole head, but their hair, and they play better. It's just always in the way, maybe. Lonnie Walker. Yeah. There's another one. There's one.
Hey.0 gives it to Jimmy Butler. Michael Klein, Bam Adebayo.
Jimmy Butler's hair.
No. For Jam Star.
But did you see he has the dreadlocks?
Yeah.
For every
photo.
Every photo. He's so funny.
Hate to say it, Jimmy Butler with that block. Joseph Casillas, Washington. Monty, Jam No Star from the Dark Phoenix. Dang. Dwayne and Lee, Jam Stars from Mario Lopez. Scott Claus, one of our elite Jamsters, gives it to us too. We appreciate that. Washington, because no one expected it. I think that that's the right answer here. Again, Devin Booker in this game did what Devin Booker kind of does. He had 25 points, but he was 11 of 22 from the field. He was 2 of 7 from beyond the arc. He had 8 rebounds. He had 5 assists. I needed 7 assists to win a bet. So, I mean, what Dwayne Washington provided this team is not something that we can continue to expect moving forward. That's something we have to realize is this is, these are those games you wish you won because you're like, oh man, we got a good Dwayne Washington game. You want to package that up and leave town with a win. But unfortunately, I was putting together the my weekly article for Bright Side of the Sun, and it's the Center of the Sun, where I recap the previous week and I talk about the next week. We have 4 games this week, right? We have this one, Then we play at home against the Golden State Warriors. Then we go to Washington, and then we come back for the Knicks next Sunday afternoon. And I said, if Chris Paul's not there, this is a 1-3 week. If Chris Paul is there, this is a 3-1 week. And the reason for that is because when Chris Paul's there, even though he's not as effective offensively as he's been in the past, this is a team that everybody falls into their role with Chris Paul there. And with Cameron Payne having to step outside of his role, although we saw a really good game against the Minnesota Timberwolves, the other 2.5 games, because you got to count the Philly game, which was a loss. The other 2.5 games have been kind of average from Cam Payne. We need him back on the second team offense leading this team, right? Versus Dwayne Washington having to be the guy who comes off the bench and essentially fill in the Cam Payne role.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think I gave Cameron Payne. I thought he was like player of the week last week. I think he looked pretty. I mean, his numbers looked really good.
I gave him player of the week too. I did.
Yeah, definitely. But when does this become? Because a lot of comments are about Monty, coaching issues. But then you look at the injuries too, right?
Well,
it kind of plays into what you're talking about.
Right? When you have a lot of these different injuries and guys having to step outside of their roles, you want the head coach to try to put them in the best situation to be successful. But ultimately, it comes down to the player's comfortability and ability to do so. And Monty Williams can't necessarily do that. Like, I'm not going to fault him for running out the starting five at the last 5 minutes of this game because that's what you're supposed to do. Yeah, I get that Damian Lee and Dwayne Washington were your hot hands, but even as I said, like Damian Lee had 5 points in the fourth, but he played the first 6 minutes. You expect him to go the whole 12? Well, maybe you do. You roll the dice there, but this is kind of a touch and go game. You're hoping that you're hoping that Mikal Bridges can step up, and obviously Devin Booker can help out. So I guess one question when it comes to Dwayne Washington is like, is he everything that we want Landry Shamet to be? Like a guy who comes in off the bench and just goes in fucking insane from beyond the arc. Can we get one of those goddamn kids from Landry Shamet, who's out with concussion protocols, by the way?
The thing is with Dwayne, like his confidence is way higher than what Shamet's will ever be, and it's not really a knock, but I'm just saying like Shamet's game. Shamet's game is mostly like just behind the scenes, running around screens and doing a lot of random shit now, which is really affecting, I think, the game in a positive way. Just Dwayne is a guy that's going to take the shot no matter what. I mean, you saw him hit that. He had one a brick. I think DA probably grabbed one of his 8 offensive rebounds, gave him back the ball, and he hit the corner. So it's going to go in the second time. Like, that's the way he is, man. I don't think you can compare the two. I mean, I think Shamet's been so consistent this year, man. So, and now he's out with
concussion
head injury.
Protocol.
What
yeah,
the fuck?
I think he was running over the center, and Patrick Mahomes tried to hit him with the pass, and he just got tagged.
Oh
no, that was Juju Smith-Schuster.
Oh, wait.
I'm watching it. It's still 23-21.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait,
Washington.
Nice. Sorry.
Yeah. So just so everyone knows, Matthew and I are in this massive survivor pool. There's like 75 people in this thing every year, and we put in money. And what is there, like $2,500 in the pot right now, Matthew?
Yeah.
And there's 7 of us left, and Matthew and I are 2 of the 7 left, and 2 of the 7 picked the Eagles to win tonight. Washington just kicked a field goal. It's 26-21 with 7:33 left. So we're going to end this pod here pretty soon. We're going to go watch that and hope that the Eagles can choke this one away. It'd be fantastic.
It'd be awesome.
So next game. You excited for the next one?
Yeah, Warriors, right?
Yep, we got the Warriors coming to town. It's 8:00 start, so it's going to be late, a little bit late. It's going to be one of those games where it's like I'm working late that night. We have a grand opening going on at one of our properties, so I'll be there for that. But that being said, I'll be home in plenty of time to go ahead and watch some of this game. I'm excited to see it. It's going to be the first time that the Phoenix Suns unveil their new. What are they calling it?
I don't know what the names are.
Originative. I think that's what they call it. Originative.
I just know it's the city edition.
The city editions. No. We got this fancy new logo right there that we've made. The Suns Jam Session podcast. Yeah, thank you. I worked very hard on that.
That looks beautiful,
designer, dude. Nice. So I'm excited to see that. I'm excited. The Warriors are a team that's struggling, man. I mean, make no doubt about it. This is a team that entering tonight is the 13th seed in the entire Western Conference at 5-8. Suns are now 8-5, so we're going to be at like the 6th seed or something after this. But it's a team that's really having a hard time with their identity. Steph Curry's playing amazing, but no one else really is. The punch by Draymond really set the tone for this team, and it'll be interesting to see how they play against the Suns come Wednesday night.
Yeah, and you also have Klay Thompson, who's really battling himself against himself. Like, really, just I feel like he's in a dark place sometimes on the court. He does have some good games still. Like, I'll look at the box score. Sometimes it'll be 7 for 14 from three, but then like most of the time though, he's just so hit or miss. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, Klein says Clay versus Devin again. That's awesome. I can't wait to see that. I know everything that probably happened. It's not going to matter in this game, right? I mean, it might continue. The way that Clay was in that game, I was like, yeah, it's all right. Like he's won it. Like he's probably just pissed off and just want to take the night off. But I think that if it continues tonight or the next game, Wednesday against the Warriors, it's going to be interesting to see how long he lasts because Booker really went off against him last
Oh,
game.
yeah.
And I think the way this game ended and the way that I think the Suns had a win, they kind of just let it slip away. Booker's going to want to come out and get this win. He doesn't want everyone to think, I need Chris Paul next to me to win these games. You know what I mean? He's going to want to go win it himself. All these other guys got to step up. But the thing with the Warriors is that punch. And we kind of just were like, yeah, people get punched. We kind of just threw it under the mat. We're like, who cares? They'll move on. They haven't moved on. I mean, this team looks like they might not be making the playoffs. I mean, they're 3 below 500 right now, right? Are they 5-8?
Yeah, 5-8.
Yeah. Interesting game coming up for these.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for it. I'm really, it's going to be really interesting to see how that Klay Thompson, Devin Booker thing happens. And it'll be interesting to see if Chris Paul's back playing. I really feel like, again, this is kind of a load management thing. The Phoenix Suns are like, listen, your heel hurts a little bit. Take a few games off, Chris. Take the road trip off. He's doing shoot around before the game, which is great. So he's definitely somebody who's not like, he's closer to playing than he is. And I was actually surprised he didn't play tonight. I really was. And again, the Suns are 8-5. So it's not like they're 5-8 and they're struggling. They're trying to navigate these injuries. They're trying to get, in my opinion, to December 15th. We got one more month until then. So until then, I really think that this will be a very fun game for the Phoenix Suns. And I'm telling you, you're on subreddit stakeout duty. Have fun there, man. The Warriors subreddit is fucking next level shitty.
Yeah, it'll be great. I'm just really interested to see how the reaction is from Warriors fans just dealing with the shitty team this year.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they hate on
throw
Clay.
up the rings. They throw up the rings.
Yeah, they do, but they hate on
time.
Clay still too. Every time I'm
big
in there,
time.
they hate on this dude. It'd be crazy. It'd be like the Suns win 4 championships and we hate on Booker.
I know.
You know what I mean? After tearing his ACL, being out almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Like, I know he's still struggling, but these guys need a lot of time. It's super early. If I were to say, who would you choose right now, to go to the finals of the West? It's tough, but Warriors would still be like number 1 or number 2, just because they can get it together. That's what you always look forward to.
But they lack the depth. That's the
they
issue.
do
with
right
them.
now. They do until they
it's
always
a lot
make
of
the
young
big move.
Guys. Yeah, well, that's true. It depends on moves, but they have a lot of young guys and that's what they're doing right now. Suns fans, if you're not watching basketball, if you're not paying attention to what the Warriors are doing, they're giving Kuminga and Moody, they're giving Jordan Poole, they're giving all these guys a ton of playing time because they want them to work out these kinks, grow their confidence, develop chemistry. So to your point, Matthew, when they comes playoff time, this becomes a team that has like the old school plus the new school. And when their powers combine, it's like, go Power Rangers. And that's what they'll be doing. So until then, though, they're going to struggle as they're trying to navigate what that feels like, what that looks like, what the rotations look like. So I see it as a win for the Phoenix Suns. I really do. I think the energy is going to be high in that place because it's the Warriors. So we'll see come Wednesday night. What do you think? Win or loss for the Suns?
Yeah, I think the Suns will get a win. I just think tonight was a win, so they're gonna make up for it. Just like the refs have to do with makeup calls. So it's the same exact thing.
4 fucking free throws, man. Yeah, I had that stat.
Do you really blame the refs though for the whole? I know that's bad, but come on. Like if I were to tell you that, you'd be like, is it the Suns or the refs? Who would you believe? And whose fault it is?
Oh, it was the Suns. The Suns didn't
Suns
put
are 50-50.
Yeah, the Suns. It wasn't like there was a bunch of egregious non-calls in this game. There were some where it's like, okay, that probably should have been a call.
Yeah.
But it was the Suns' lack of executing. It was their Suns' lack of aggressiveness. It's the same shit. There's a reason why we shoot the least amount of free throws in the league. Yep, I'll be writing a piece on that later tonight. So, anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here, Matthew?
I think I'm good, man.
Like the beer trim?
Let's not do this again for another couple games, huh?
Like that beer trim?
Looks
nice
good,
fade.
dude.
That nice
Would
fade.
you go to
V's Barbershop right down by you today?
Over here?
Yep.
Oh.
I went to physical therapy today and Then I went down and it was self-care day. I
I
had
was
a
gonna
nice little
say, yeah.
self-care
You
day.
should have dropped by. I could have made you some noodles or something.
I had enough time in between physical therapy and getting my beard trim. I was like, I should go say hi to Matthew and get some noodles. And then I didn't because I realized I didn't want noodles at noon. I had noodles for dinner though. I had
It would just weigh you
beef
down, right?
stroganoff.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I
That's
love beef.
the best, man.
I love beef strogie. Hamburger helper beef strogie is like,
It's the best.
oh god, my mom used to make it all the time as a kid. I love it, and I'm like, I never eat it anymore. And I was like, you know what? F this. I'm getting some beef strogie tonight.
They still sell Hamburger Helper. That's
Hell
still
yeah.
allowed. That's legal.
Hell yeah.
I feel like after the stuff they found in that, I thought they got it.
It's delicious. That's what they found. They found delicious spices, a combination of flavors and spices. So that's what
okay.
I'm going with.
I thought it was just
God,
excommunicated.
I'm
in the
tied
West.
in fantasy right now too. Jesus.
Yeah, I'm
Weird
2-2.
day.
2-2 now.
Well, like it's literally tied in my league. And like
For your league?
yeah, I've got Goddard going and she's got Devonta Smith. So I got to go watch this game. So
All right, yeah.
Jamsters, once again, thank you for joining us for another edition of the Suns Jam Session podcast. We appreciate you taking time, even after a Phoenix Suns loss. You're here. You're voicing your opinion live in the chat. And if you're listening to this tomorrow, you're even more of a trooper because you've had time to marinate on what happened tonight and go, you know what? I still want to hear what John and Matthew have to say about that. So that alone makes you the real MVP. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're consuming this content. Do me a favor. Stop by the Suns Jam Session Redbubble page. That's right. Go to redbubble.com, search for Suns Jam, and you'll find a bunch of new designs that I'm putting out there. I'm putting all kinds of fun little designs out there. So if you like apparel, if you want some coasters, some stickers, anything like that, go on there. That's another way to help support the podcast. We truly appreciate it. Make sure you follow me at Darth Voida on Twitter, and you can read my writing on brightsideofthesun.com. You can follow Matthew on Twitter.
Matthew Lucy.
And, of course, you can follow the show at Suns Jam on Instagram, Twitter, and the TikTok. Until then, everybody, we'll see you Wednesday. Have a fantastic evening. Go Suns, baby.
Yeah, go home and love your family.